The boutique was the kind of place that didn't just sell fashion, it sold fantasy. Leather seating, imported rugs, and artful displays of exclusive designer pieces whispered wealth. Every detail, from the soft instrumental jazz to the woody scent lingering in the air, exuded exclusivity. Even the champagne was reserved, not for those who asked, but for those who were deemed worthy. And at the center of this kingdom stood Helena, with her tailored black dress, pristine high heels, and posture carved from steel. Helena was more than a manager, she was a gatekeeper. She didn't sell clothing, she sold status. And she protected that brand like her life depended on it. So when the soft chime of the door signaled a new arrival, Helena turned instinctively. A woman walked in wearing a white hoodie, plain sweatpants, a black cap pulled low, and sunglasses, hiding her eyes. Her brown hair was tied back in a casual bun, understated, anonymous. In this temple of opulence, she was a disruption, a mistake. Helena's eyes narrowed. She didn't need a second glance. A tourist, she thought. A wanderer. A window shopper. And those didn't belong here. She moved with silent precision toward the door, past displays worth more than most people's cars. Clara, the boutique's junior assistant, watched her closely. She'd seen Helena handle people like this before, but this time something felt different. Sandra, still unnoticed by most, strolled slowly between displays. Her fingers gently grazed the delicate fabrics as if each piece held a memory. She didn't move like a tourist. She moved like someone who belonged here. But Helena didn't see that. She saw the hoodie, the cap, the threat to the boutique's illusion of perfection. "Can I help you?" Helena asked, voice calm, smile thin but sharpened like a dagger. Sandra turned. "Oh, thank you. I'm just looking." Helena nodded, but her verdict had already been passed. "Of course. Just so you know, everything here is exclusive. Custom. Nothing is displayed by accident. Translation. You're not meant to touch anything." Sandra simply smiled. "I imagine it's not." That made Helena pause, only for a second, but she recovered quickly. She expected Sandra to leave. But instead, Sandra reached for a silk dress, elegant and expensive, and examined it with care. Enough was enough. Helena turned and whispered to Clara, "Keep an eye on her." Clara blinked. "But she might ruin the experience for our real customers." Clara bit her tongue, unease crawling up her spine. Sandra didn't look like the problem, but Helena had already decided. The whispers started soon after. "Did you see her? A hoodie and sweatpants. She must be lost." Sandra felt their eyes, their judgments, but said nothing. She was used to the game. She just didn't always play it. Helena approached again, her tone still sugar-coated, but now with a dash of poison. "I noticed you liked that dress." Sandra nodded. "It's beautiful. Perhaps I could suggest something more casual, more your style." Sandra arched a brow. "My style?" Helena smiled wider. "Something more comfortable." Clara's stomach tightened. Sandra gave a small, knowing smile. "You think I wouldn't be comfortable in this?" Another pause, another subtle shift in the room's energy. Helena's mask cracked, just slightly. "I just meant, you think I can't afford it?" The boutique went quiet. Assistants stopped rearranging, clients turned. Helena didn't flinch. "Ma'am, I was simply suggesting something more appropriate." Sandra studied her. Then she laughed. Soft, controlled, dangerous. "I see. Thanks for the suggestion." She reached for another piece, this time a black silk gown that whispered elegance and screamed wealth. Helena's temper boiled beneath her perfect skin. She approached once more. "Are you sure you want to try that dress?" she asked, gaze flicking to the hoodie, the cap, the anonymity. Sandra smiled, slow and measured. "What do you mean by that?" "This design," Helena said, "requires her certain posture, a grace, the right accessories, an understanding of couture." "You think I don't understand?" Sandra asked. Helena didn't blink. "Some people mistake this boutique for just any store." Sandra chuckled. "So, in your opinion, I shouldn't be here?" "Oh, I'd never say that." But Helena tilted her head with faux innocence. "Though some of our clients might feel too uncomfortable." Sandra inhaled deeply. then let out a soft, final sigh. I see. Helena thought she'd won. But then, funny, Sandra said. When I walked in, no one offered me champagne. Thiggy. Silence that followed was electric. The assistants glanced at each other. The VIP clients looked away. Helena's face lost color. Oh, that must have been a mistake. No need, Sandra interrupted gently. I've seen everything I needed to see. And then, she turned to Clara. Do you think this dress would look good on me? Clara froze. Everyone waited. Then Clara exhaled, firm and clear. Yes, it would look incredible. Helena's world shook. Control, the thing she prized most, was slipping. Very well, Helena said, voice brittle. I'll have someone assist you in the fitting room. She turned to Clara, tone sharp. Please check if we have her size. Sandra raised a brow. She heard it. The implication, the judgment beneath the words. Then Helena went too far. You know, she said with false casualness, we have a more affordable boutique a few blocks away. Perhaps something there might suit your style better. Clara closed her eyes. Sandra didn't. She laughed again, low and stunned. Did you just suggest I shop somewhere cheaper? I just think some clients prefer practical options, Helena replied. After all, luxury isn't for everyone. Silence. And then, Sandra walked to the register. Helena scoffed. What are you doing? Sandra looked her dead in the eyes. I'll take it. The room froze. You will? Sandra nodded. Luxury may not be for everyone. She took off her sunglasses. But I'm pretty sure it's for me. And suddenly everyone knew. One VIP client gasped. Another whispered, Oh my God. Helena's knees nearly buckled. Sandra Bullock, Hollywood royalty, a net worth of $250 million. The woman Helena had just tried to humiliate. And then the boutique doors chimed again. The moment felt surreal. And in walked Keanu Reeves, wearing a long black coat, his presence quiet but undeniable. His eyes scanned the room. He wasn't surprised. He already knew. He walked straight to Sandra, past the stunned assistants, past Helena, now frozen in disbelief, and he hugged her, real, strong, familiar. It's been too long, Bullock, he murmured. Sandra smiled and hugged him back, and just like that, the fantasy Helena had tried to protect, the illusion of exclusivity, shattered because it wasn't about clothes or posture or imagined status. It was about character. And Helena had none. The luxury boutique Eloise Paris wasn't just a store. It was a shrine to exclusivity. Hidden behind a minimalist facade, it catered only to the ultra-elite, and its employees knew exactly how to spot someone who belonged. Which is why, when Sandra Bullock stepped inside dressed casually in jeans, sunglasses, and a hoodie, the manager Helena barely concealed her disdain. Helena didn't know who Sandra was, and she didn't care. She had built her career on image, and this woman didn't fit her definition of important. She motioned to one of the assistants, Clara, and whispered loud enough for Sandra to hear, Please remind her that we are by appointment only. Sandra didn't flinch. She gave a small, polite smile, nodded, and said nothing. But her eyes caught Clara's. A silent moment passed, and the young assistant shifted uncomfortably. She knew something wasn't right. Moments later, the boutique doors opened again, and in walked Keanu Reeves. Time seemed to pause. The tension in the room instantly shifted. The sales assistants straightened their posture. The clients whispered excitedly, and Helena. Her eyes widened as realization hit her like a freight train. Keanu looked around slowly, taking in the atmosphere. Then he spotted Sandra. His face softened. He approached her with a quiet familiarity, placed a gentle hand on her shoulder, and turned to Helena. I hope they treated you well, he said, his voice calm but unmistakably edged with irony. A silence swept through the boutique. Helena's smile froze. The sales assistants exchanged uneasy glances. Clara bit her lip. Everyone could feel it, the truth hanging in the air like perfume. Sandra gave a small laugh, turned to Helena, and said softly, Oh yes, unforgettable. The words stung far more than if she had shouted. There was no anger in her tone, just clarity. precision. Helena opened her mouth, but nothing came out. No excuse would suffice now. Then, from one of the private lounge chairs, a blonde woman in a tailored designer suit murmured just loudly enough, "If they treat Sandra Bullock like this, imagine how they treat the rest of us." The room cracked open. Clients looked around, suddenly unsure. The facade had shattered, and Helena could feel the ground slipping beneath her heels. Her phone vibrated. A message from the boutique owner. "We have a serious problem. Call me immediately." Panic set in. She tried to recover. "Miss Bullock," she began, voice trembling, I didn't realize who you were." Sandra crossed her arms. "And that should change how I'm treated?" Helena blinked, speechless. "It was a misunderstanding," she managed weakly. Keanu raised an eyebrow. "A misunderstanding?" The words hit harder than any accusation. "I just wanted to ensure our experience remained selective." Sandra laughed again, this time a little louder. "So now you get to decide who deserves respect." Helena stood paralyzed. She knew she had lost. Not just this moment, but everything. And then the blow she never expected came. The impeccably dressed blonde stood up, grabbed her handbag, and said clearly, "I don't shop at places that mistreat. They're customers. I'm leaving." She walked out without a glance back. Another client followed. If this happened to her, it could happen to any of us. Murmurs swelled. The boutique, Helena's kingdom, had become a courtroom, and the verdict was clear. Then Clara, the assistant, stepped forward. She took off her name tag and placed it gently on the glass counter. "I can't work here anymore." Helena's face twisted in shock. "Clara," she said, barely above a whisper. But Clara didn't look at her. She turned to Sandra and Keanu and smiled gently. "May I walk you both to the exit?" Sandra nodded. Of course. The three of them walked out together. And Helena, once the queen of this world, stood alone as her empire crumbled around her. But the worst was still to come. Across the city, in a quiet cafe, Sandra, Keanu, and Clara sat sipping coffee. Clara still looked stunned by the turn of events. "So," Sandra asked warmly, "what's next for you, Clara?" The young woman shrugged, a bit shy. "I don't know, maybe somewhere I can grow, learn something real." Keanu smiled. "Well, I know a few people who might be able to help." Clara's eyes lit up. "Really?" Sandra grinned. "We like helping the people who deserve it." Then Sandra's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and read the message aloud. "The boutique manager has officially been fired. The video has 20 million views." Keanu and Sandra exchanged a knowing look. Clara sat speechless. Sandra leaned back and spoke the words that would close the chapter on this story forever. "Some people think luxury is power, but real power is knowing how to treat people with respect." Keanu nodded. And across the city, in a dim apartment, Helena sat alone with her phone in her lap, learning the hard way that status isn't eternal, the judgment of the world can be swift and brutal, and that luxury, without dignity, means nothing.